It's a historically hard market for the insurance industry right now. That's why some insurers are dropping home and auto policies entirely and shifting more towards commercial coverage. John Leezer is a veteran insurance agent based in Toulon. He shares his perspective on the tumult in the insurance business with WCBU correspondent Steve Tarter.
Yes, a lot of ups and downs. In the insurance business, we call it a hard market and a soft market.
And what are we in now?
Well, we're in a hard market.
Very hard market.
Yeah, very hard market. Yeah.
You told us earlier that in your 40 years, this is the worst market you've ever seen.
By far, yes.
And what are some of the reasons for that?
Well, it's kind of a trifecta of things that all converged, after the pandemic.
Right.
The storm activity has just been off the charts.
Like hurricanes and all that.
Yeah, hurricane. And even
tornadoes.
in the Midwest, the derechos and the hailstorms,
right.
Those don't get the press that the hurricanes do. The inflation, we all have been faced with inflation now on insurance claims, which would be repair of homes and repair of autos. That has outpaced the rate of inflation, the general rate of inflation, by several times.
And homes have really gone up.
Homes have gone up,
yeah. Whatever period of time you want to look at.
And there's shortage of materials, shortage of labor, and that's forcing all the costs up tremendously. Just to give you an example, the rate of inflation for auto repairs is about 32%, and for home repairs, it runs, depending on what type of repair it is, running from 30 to 40%.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's over a period of what time?
That's over a period of 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So insurance companies having to pay out more.
Yeah.
You make a mention in your write-up that there are a number of companies now that are canceling or not offering or increasing prices. What's going on there?
Yeah, so we call this a capacity ratio. So 2022 was a terrible year for most insurance companies. Most of them lost money, and some of them lost significant amounts of money, which comes out of their surplus.
Right.
They need the surplus to cover the risk.
Right.
And so some of them are getting out of certain lines of business. Homeowners and auto are two of the big losers. Commercial insurance hasn't been hit quite as bad. But the companies, they're losing money, they're losing surplus. They have to get rid of some risk.
What do you advise a client who finds out, my insurance has been canceled on their car, their home, or whatever?
Been canceled? Well, you're going to have to find another carrier.
And is that what you do?
We do, yeah. We're an independent insurance agency, so we represent a variety of different carriers. And so, if one company, we're fortunate if one company is pulling out of the market, we have other carriers within our agency that we can.
But people can expect to pay more.
Yeah, and that's going to be
the market you just described.
Yeah, the pay, regardless of whether your company is going to continue or not with you, you're going to pay more. Yeah.
You mentioned this was interesting because I don't think most of us realize this. Reinsurance.
Yes.
This is the insurance that the insurance companies have.
Correct.
Give us that background on that.
Yeah, so the public probably is not aware of this, but every insurance company buys reinsurance. So, and I call it insurance for insurance companies, so that when those large losses come in, such as a Hurricane Ian or even a major tornado, the individual insurance companies that are on those buy reinsurance to back them up on large losses. Then they can collect some of their catastrophic claims back from a reinsurance carrier. Most of those reinsurance carriers are located overseas. They're a global operation.
And they're suffering?
They are suffering too. So these catastrophic claims are making their way up the chain to the reinsurance carriers, who have also lost money since in the last 3 years. So that's where it's kind of where the cascade is starting. They're pushing back. They're raising their rates to the insurance companies.
And that's a ripple effect.
It's a ripple effect back down to the consumer. Yeah.
John Leezer, what do you suggest for people? As given this bad couple of years that the insurance companies have had, what should the homeowner, car owner do? Because I think you make some points about deductibles and things of that sort.
So you're going to see the insurance companies are trying to get this thing, resolved. Some of them are resolving by just pulling out, as we talked about. The ones that are still there, everybody's raising rates. They're cutting back. The insurance companies are cutting back on some of the coverages. They're raising deductibles, restricting some coverage. Cosmetic damage is a big one.
Like the roof,
cosmetic
hail?
Yeah, so on a metal surface, exterior surface, which could be roof, could be siding, could be trim, a hailstorm can put dents in that metal. The metal still works; it still sheds the rain and the wind out, but it doesn't look the same. So that's what cosmetic damage is. So there's been a debate for several years: has that really been damaged or not?
Right.
It's still doing its job, but it doesn't look the same. So, in order to try to stop some of the bleeding, a lot of companies are going to exclude cosmetic damage.
Sure. Yeah.
They're paying out big money for dents in metal that never really gets replaced.
Right. Right.
And then they're raising deductibles. I heard recently someone had gotten a quote on their home, and it was a very reasonable quote until they found out the deductible was $35,000.
Wow.
On a home.
Yeah.
Yeah. So some of these things are going to be forced on the public. There's just going to be no choice. They could do things themselves. They could raise their deductibles on their auto or their home. They could eliminate some. There's been a lot in the last 20 years, there's been tons of bells and whistles added to insurance policies.
Right.
Cover every little thing. Maybe it's time to start scaling some of those back.
Would you advise, John, that people call their insurance person and maybe say, hey, how can I address this?
Yes, absolutely. So, there's you can get discounts for paying a year or even 6 months in advance rather than paying monthly.
Right.
If you can afford that in your budget, that would be a great first step to start helping them.
Great.
And then you want to keep your insurance record clean because the companies they've always been attuned to, looking at your record, and that is heightened now with this crisis. So, drive defensively. Keep the maintenance up on your home. If you have small losses, consider just paying those yourself out of pocket rather than turn it in. If you have a couple claims on your record and you get dropped, maybe your carrier's not going to, pull it out of the market. You could have difficulty finding coverage. Yeah.
Right. John, you're out there in Toulon. What's your area of service? Was it pretty much Stark County or beyond? Or?
We go 60 to 70 mile radius of Toulon. So, we're over in Galesburg and Peoria and up around the Quad Cities and Princeton.
So you see a wide section.
Yeah.
That was insurance agent John Leezer speaking to WCBU correspondent Steve Tarter.